Chapter 6 Teachings of Christ. Jesus was with me continually after the experience of standing in His love and light. I found that when I awoke in the morning, I could hear His voice and He would tell me what He had planned to teach me that day, if I was willing to take the time to listen to Him. How could one resist such a teacher? It became easy to concentrate on Him and then feel His presence and receive direction for the day. One time we went through the Sermon on the Mount together, and He explained what it was that He was trying to say. It was enjoyable and enlightening to receive a perspective on the Scriptures from Him. I found that most of our conversations revolved around everyday type of things that were affecting my life. One time He told me about why it was so important to develop spiritually now, while I was still in the flesh. He said that there were three main drawbacks to trying to progress in the spirit world. First, you no longer have a physical body to help you overcome the flesh or physical things. His list of physical addictions included alcohol, drugs, sex, and food, all of which are not present in the same form in the spirit or spirit world. He said that overcoming the flesh is essential to spiritual growth. Only when we set these things aside or in their proper place can the Spirit take over and guide us to new levels of understanding. When you leave the physical existence, the opportunity to overcome in this area is so vastly reduced that progress is greatly inhibited. The second drawback is normally experienced only by those who find themselves in the light areas of the spirit lands. This drawback is one of a lack of opposition. Those who are just and honest on the earth find themselves in beautiful places upon passing to the spirit world, where darkness and opposition are bound or shut out by the goodness of the people. This lack of opposition means that it becomes harder to taste the bitter that they may know to prize the sweet. Without this contrast, we are like we were before coming to the earth, happy, yet lacking in experience. Thirdly, and quite tied to the second, is the fact that as a spirit, we know positively that we are eternal and will live forever. This fact limits our ability to grow and develop faith. Knowing that we will live forever means that we don't have to develop faith in what comes next. In essence, we become lethargic and lack drive or ambition, because we are in our comfort zone. These points were put across many times to emphasize the importance of progressing now while in the flesh. When I asked about the law of tithing, I received this answer: do you want 10% salvation? No more was said because I understood immediately what he meant. Jesus was looking for a full-timer who would give their all. If I wasn't willing to do this, then he would be happy with the 10% or any other percent I was willing to give until I figured out that it wasn't a complete offering. No condemning was done in these exchanges of information, but I was continually shown how the law of the harvest worked. If I was only willing to make so much effort on my part, I could not expect more than an equal amount back. And he assured me many times that what I received for my efforts would always be exact compensation. This, he said, was the eternal law upon which all blessings were predicated. I must have heard him say 20 times that every decision I made would either take me towards light or away from it. The choice was totally up to me. His role was only to show me the way to more light. When asking about the Sabbath day, I received a very similar answer. If I can't get you to focus on me or light 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, then I'll set aside one day of the week when you can focus on me. Again, he was looking for a full-time commitment. With this answer, I responded, then you don't care what I do on the Sabbath? And he said, Mike, if I asked you to partake of the sacrament on a Wednesday, would you do it? I said, sure I would. Then, if I asked you to go boating on Sunday, would you do that? This time I hesitated briefly but said, yes. He detected the hesitation in my response and said, "When you step out of the law into the Spirit, you cannot look back. You must learn to trust me explicitly. The key is learning to know my voice or the voice of the Spirit and to trust it." I only hope by sharing these conversations with you that you can feel the depth and the new twist he seemed to put on everything we talked about. Sometimes this didn't occur with him telling me something as much as it did by going through the motions of the experience. For example, one night I went into the bathroom, and while I was responding to nature's call, Jesus started to talk to me. We conversed for several minutes, and then I left the bathroom and proceeded to get ready for bed. All of my life I had been taught to pray before I got in bed. As I knelt down by my bed, I began my usual routine of prayer. Now, I am probably not too much different than others who have tried to talk to God on a regular basis. Some of my praying has been very repetitious, but I have attempted for the most part to be original and sincere. On this occasion, as I knelt down, I began my normal thanks for this and thanks for that, when suddenly I realized I had just performed the greatest mockery or hypocrisy of my life. Just minutes before, I had been having this two-way conversation with the Lord, and now I was acting as though that had not happened. Or that the other conversation was make-believe, and now I was really going to talk to God because I was in the right position, on my knees. My feeling of embarrassment I find hard to put into words. How could I, in the space of just a few minutes, have turned my back on the conversation we had just had? Oh, how terrible I felt. As soon as this "I've let them down" feeling came upon me, I heard his voice again saying, "Don't be so hard on yourself. We all learned it the same way." Then there was a roar of laughter from the other side as they all enjoyed the learning I was going through. I was glad to make them happy enough to laugh and didn't take it personally in the least. Our conversation from there was all about learning to hold a continual prayer in one's heart, giving thanks perpetually so that prayer becomes a part of what you are at all times. I asked about the prayers that he gave with his apostles, the prayer in the garden and the Lord's Prayer. Why did he give direct prayers at times, and did he still have a prayer in his heart when he gave those vocal prayers? His answer was somewhat surprising. He said that most of the prayers he gave out loud were for the growth of those who heard the prayer. He explained that most of the people were not sufficiently established in their gospel understanding to keep a prayer in their heart continually, to bring them to that point so they could pray without ceasing. He let them see and feel the relationship that he had with his Father. This gave them a desire to seek that relationship and concentrate on the spiritual more often. Thus they would begin to look to the Father in all things, and often they would not even recognize they had changed their mental pattern. It was easy to see that I had just experienced the same mental leap, but I was very much aware of the moment that it happened. Some may ask, how do you pray now? To this I would say, let me stop for a moment and examine my life and see if there is a time when I feel that I have lost my connection to the Father in heaven. If there is the slightest question of that communication breakdown, I know that it is on my part, and I will immediately go to work to fix the problem. Do I pray vocally? Yes, but mostly for the benefit of those who still need it. My Father knows that which I need and will provide it, often before I can even make a mental exertion to let him know how I feel. Does prayer work, or is there power in prayer? Only if you put emotion with it, and then there is nothing that can stop it.